This administration is going to offer a prisoner swap for the release of Brittany Griner. We would release a Russian arms dealer known as the Merchant of Death in exchange for Griner, along with another American. Congressman Dan Crenshaw, Republican from Texas, joins me now. As a former military man, Congressman, how do you feel about this exchange of prisoners here?
Well, I'll tell you what, Varney, that's the first I've heard of it, so I'm reacting to it in real time. Look, there's obviously pros and cons. You don't want to let someone go who's a mass murderer, but you also want to get our U.S. citizens back, and sometimes these are the deals you have to make. But we'll see the details of this as it unfolds.
Okay, I'm sorry to spring that on you, Congressman. I didn't realize you didn't know about that, but I thought it was a good story. All right, in the United States at the moment, there's a very large number of illegal migrants, and I think you've got some kind of plan to do something about that. What's your plan?
Well, again, anytime you look at the southern border, you've got to look at a lot of factors, and the solutions are multifaceted. So I've been on your show before talking about reforming the asylum process because it's very clearly being abused. You have to reform the Flores settlement as well. You've got to build infrastructure, walls, security cameras, all of it. But you also have to deal with what's happening in our immigration courts. What you're seeing now is 1.6 million court cases backlog. That's 10 times more court cases than even 10 years ago, and that's largely because of the abuses in the asylum process, because those cases are more complicated. And so we do agree with Democrats on one thing. They want to increase immigration judge numbers. We should increase immigration judge numbers, but you have to follow that with ICE prosecutor numbers. If you don't have the government represented in those cases in that courtroom, what you could have is an administrative closure of a case, which really just means the immigrant is forgotten about almost indefinitely. They just get put right back to the back of the line and never searched for it, probably for years, if ever. And that's a real problem. So look, I'm introducing a bill this week that simply fixes that problem. It says there needs to be a 4-to-1 ratio, prosecutors to judges. Very simple. DHS needs this, and it's tackling some of these problems that I think are often overlooked with the border. Even
given the passage of your bill and the hiring of more prosecutors and judges and all the rest of it, this problem is going to be with us for decades. Because you can't shift. The problem is so large. There's so many people. You just can't deal with it in a speedy fashion, period.
Yeah, exactly. But if you begin to, right, and if you begin to reform the asylum process, you'll at least stop the inflow. And that's got to be our first priority. And then you've got to deal with, the estimates go up to 20 million people who are here undocumented. You do have to deal with that. This is a part of dealing with that.
Okay, Congressman, thanks very much for joining us this morning. I'm sorry I sprung that story on you. Next time I'll give you plenty of warning and plenty of detail about what we're doing here. Okay, thanks a lot, sir.
No worries. Thanks,
See you later. Thanks.